Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm a founder and a CTO of Anagolay. In today's presentation, I will explain on a high level what the Anagolay is about and how it works. Then I will show you how to prove a domain ownership and the UI of the workflow builder. Let's start with the presentation. Anagolay's goal is to be a decentralized rights management platform. This includes all the rights and restrictions management for any digital asset. Please consider this short sentence. I own this digital asset. It sounds very, very simple. It is. The proving that you actually own that digital asset and the digital asset has a verifiable proof of ownership that is connected to you. It is very, very complicated to solve. To accomplish this, we need to be able to create an immutable process that will be ultimately used to generate the statements, claims, and proofs that are used and stored on Anagolay chain. The process, once created, can never change either manifest or the binary. When built, when built and rebuilt, the artifacts will always be the same. It is a transparent, which means that anybody can see what process looks like and they can audit it. It must work on every modern platform, browser, server-side, phone, and IoT. Well, it's just about being flexible because we really need that the processes are generally acceptable and that they can work everywhere. Lastly is that we do not reinvent the wheel by writing the same process on different languages, rather write it in one and build for many different platforms. This process in Anagolay context we call workflow. The workflow is composed of two or more operations connected as a direct graph where the output of operation 1 is passed as the input to operation 2 and so on until we reach the end. The final workflow result is always going to be one or many proofs which are then used to generate the claims. The claim is a structure that holds the connections to the user who is claiming the right to the asset, the subject of the claim, the proofs we created using the workflow identifier that is used to generate the claim, and proportions that are by default percentage based. This is what Kelp is using. This doesn't mean that other dApps and users cannot create their own proportions and assign them to the claims. Anagolay is flexible enough to allow anybody to create their proportion structure. Every claim can be only one of the type, copyright or ownership, with a specific expiration and the event that is triggered when the claim expires. To note that non-expiration field is going to be a link to a smart contract. Now that we know what claims are, let's talk about statements. This is the final product of any process that intends to store any kind of right on Anagolay. The signatures are produced by the user, which is a holder, and a dApp, an issuer. The signatures are created by the signing the claim. Let's continue now to a demo that is going to be showing how to create a workflow builder. The workflow builder for the time being is available on this link, which is going to be shared in the video description. Let's create a workflow that calculates a CID from a file. We're going to use all three operations because they are just enough to have the CID. Our file is going to be passing the information to the multi-hash and the multi-hash to the CID. Remember what we learned before. Output of operation is an input of the next operation. Operation 1 output input operation 2 and so on until we reach the end. We will name this as a WF-CID version 1 and add a description, calculate CID version 1 from the file. We can add a couple of groups, user and sys. They are determining how the workflow is going to be executed. Additionally, we can select that we would like to use the Blake 3 256 multi-hash instead of the SHA-256, which is a default one. In this case, the manifest will look a little bit different than it was looking before. Hasher is going to be Blake 3. What you see in front of you is the workflow manifest. This, once created and stored on chain, can never change. This is complete immutability of the execution process. And every next generation of the workflow code, it will always be generated out of this manifest. The workflow code is auto-generated out of the operations within the C. Our builder service is going to ask for the operation on the specific version from the chain. Is going to take the code that is necessary for running it. It's going to actually generate the code that is going to pass its output to the input of this operation, and so on until it reaches the end. And we can save. And then it's going to publish it on the IPFS. That was a workflow builder. Now let's see how we can do domain verification. Domain verification can be done with the current setup of Anagolay, and it will store the proofs as the proofs of existence, create the claims, and is going to create the statements. First things first, we need to enable the Polkadot.js extension. I like to keep it like on click because it makes a lot more sense and it gives much more security for the application that is requesting the accounts. You don't want generally that you have accounts everywhere. Let's verify the ownership of our domain. Today we're going to verify Anagolay network. We're going to be using DNS text record adding, and I have added this already because sometimes the DNS propagation can take up to 3 days and we don't want to. Let's verify. At this stage, we need to sign and save the proof of existence. We can on Anagolay we cannot have any statement or any claims that they do not have any kind of proofs. Proof structure looks very similar to the claim itself. They are generally standardized. We have a workflow ID that we use to create the proofs itself. We have a creator, which is the account, and the groups are generic because it does not have any restrictions like camera or lens groups. We have two proofs, or we call them proof params. One is that is part of the DNS, and another one is a domain that we are claiming the co-ownership for. Let's save the proof of existence first. We're going to sign the transaction that it states that we are generating a proof of existence for this record. The ID that you see here is a content address of the data that is going to be calculated on chain. In this case, we are having the very secure way of calculating the content addresses out of the data without a possible man in the middle attack. Here we can see that proof has been created. There were some balance transfers. The proof has been created with this specific ID. That is our CID that we're supposed to be seeing here. As you can see, it is there. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a statement. This stage in a domain verification, we have already claim and a statement. Let's sign the statement, and you can see here that there is a proof of existence. There's a bunch of stuff. A percentage is 100%. Subject is the proof of existence, which holds the proofs and extra parameters to know for what are we proving, and the holder, which is my account, and issuer, which is the dApps account. We sign the message, sign in a transaction, go back to the Polkadot to see that we are having the ownership created for that specific account, which is an Anagolay test account, and the statement ID is following. We're going back. Now we have successfully claimed the ownership of Anagolay network, and we have some nice confetti, and that's it. That's all that it takes to create a statement on Anagolay, which is legally valid. It's verifiable, and yeah, let's inspect how our statement looks like. We will copy this ID. We can go to the chain state, and we can go to the statements. And statements are just here. And we need to get a statement by statement ID and the account ID. We paste the statement here, select the account ID that we use to store the statement, press plus. This is how the statement looks like. As you can see, this is very familiar from the presentation. We have a couple of signatures, a holder and issuer, and we have the full claim in a proportion of 100% workflow ID, proof of existence, and subject. The most important part that this is the claim of type of ownership is valid from today until, well, forever. That's it. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe and follow us on our social media.